I've recently started building a projectional editor. I made great progress and I was so excited to try out my new ideas. But then I got stuck and had to rework the design a bit. What I really want to work on is filtering lines in a document. But sometimes you have to go slow and clean up before you can move forward. So in this video, I'm going to refactor the editor to make the design more clear and figure out how to do things a bit differently in the new design that I came up with. Hi, I'm Rickard and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, this channel is all about my interest for programming. I make videos where I document what I'm working on and try to make it interesting for others to watch. You can see me programming on different projects and share things I learn. If that sounds interesting, consider subscribing to not miss future videos. Let's get set up for refactoring. So we run command server, and then we run rl project with a test flag, I think. Yes, so that will run all the tests. And let's open a file just to show how this works. Maybe not this one, or maybe I can try write a test here just to demonstrate that. Yeah, that's how the feedback loop works. So we write a test or an example, it fails, and we'll show the output down there. Okay, good. We have our feedback loop set up. What are we working on? The editor. The editor is the thing that renders the status bar and decides the layout for the document that is being edited. Let's have a look. This is what I would like to refactor and clean up and make a bit more sense of in this new design. So, what have we got? We have two data objects here. We have the projection state and we have the editor state. Then we have the editor itself. This is the projection. And here we have the create driver method. Look at that mess. We have long functions, nested functions. The new design makes perfect sense in my head. So now it's time to make the editor reflect that design and express it a bit more clearly. So let's start by extracting a function. So let's just do something like this. Move it down here, make it a static method just for now, a proper indentation, and down here we do, so if I save now, it'll probably fail. So we have a test for this, and this should really be now editor dot project, and we need to call it something else, project new. There we go. I continue to extract functions, inline functions, add better tests, and so on. Then I come across a problem with measuring time. So the only reason we're doing this everything but the editor is that so that we can measure how long that took, so that we can print it up here. This is causing this to be more complex, and it's also not entirely correct. And I've thought about this before. So what we're measuring here is how long it took to project everything but the status line and some other things. But then there is another thing that would be interesting to measure, and that's also how long it took to paint that on the screen, because that's not included in this. And in order to include that, we must measure at the WX terminal. So whenever we process something, so let's see, on char, so yeah, so when we get a keyboard event, the driver returns a new terminal, a new projection, and then we repaint the bitmap, so that is painting that projection on screen. And it would be interesting to measure both of them. So, because that's actually the delay that the user will see. Let's see if we can do the measuring in a better way. Let's experiment and see what that might look like. So there's a measure function here in the editor, so let's steal that into, just so we have it here. Okay, so let's start with the char event. So let's just say let's do ms here and then do measure okay, let's see, how do we do this? Def project ms project measure project, and then we have ms repaint. Let's see if this works, and then we just print it. ms project ms repaint. Let's see, so there are no tests for this, so let's just run the program and see what happens. And let's see, I need to observe the output somehow, so I need to run this in a terminal. Let's run it down here. So let's type something. Name time is not defined, alright. So import time. Let's try again. Okay, I'm not quite sure what's happening here. Oh, so it's, let's see. Let's ignore the return value. Something like that. Yeah. So now we're getting somewhere, sure. So now, yeah, it took 2-3 milliseconds to do the projection, and then it took 4 milliseconds to actually draw the bitmap. So if we make this window a bit bigger, the projection takes about the same time, but it takes longer to render because it's a bigger bitmap. So this is actually more useful information. So if you want to show those measurements on the screen in the editor instead of printing them to the terminal, the only way to communicate from the driver to the document editor is via an event. I continue to expand this experiment until I have an event that reports measurements that the UI can render. So we can say document.meta.measurement event.ms project and ms repaint. That will probably fail some tests, but let's see if it works here. Okay, so when I press a key, you can see that it took 4 milliseconds to project and 3 milliseconds to render. If I make this window bigger, it will not update now on the size event, but if I type a key, yeah, it's mostly constant time to project, but it takes longer to render to the screen if the window is bigger. All right. Now that we have a better solution for measurements, we can go back to the editor and continue the cleanup there. So now this ms is not used at all. So there's no need for this measure function. So let's just remove it like that. We get back this, and we can remove it down here as well. Right. And that's what it's like refactoring. You start by making a small improvement somewhere, and then you notice a new problem, and you fix that, and you just keep going like that. And eventually, the thing that you actually want to implement is trivial, and that's when the refactoring pays off. I think I have a few more refactorings to go before I can actually start working on filtering lines, so I better get to it.